welcome back to the Home Print Studio. If you have ever wanted to print your plates at home but felt limited by not having a press, well, don't worry. Today I'm going to show you how you can print even an intaglio dry point plate right at home using just a little bit of muscle power and some very simple tools. So a couple of weeks ago I showed you how I made my dry point plate working from phone photos, and now I'm going to print that plate in the home studio. If you don't know me, I'm Ruth. I make videos from my tiny shed studio in Bristol, UK, and I help artists to deepen their practice through hand printing at home. If this video has piqued your interest, then please do join my email list. The link is down below. You'll get regular updates, tips, how-to videos, all my content, lots of good writing about art and printmaking, all straight to your inbox on a regular basis, about every 2 weeks or so. Plus, you're going to get my free guide, How to Be a Rebel Printmaker, as well. Right, let's get dry point etching printing. So first things first, paper. It's always the first thing you do is soak your paper when we're doing intaglio printmaking. So you could use your bath, you could use a sink, you could use anything that you can get a little bit of water in. I'm actually probably going to put this in the bath because it's a really big piece of paper. Now here I am using, it's called bread and butter paper. It's a proofing paper, so it's not the best paper, but it's perfectly fine for doing a proof of a dry point etching. If I want a really nice print, then I will tend to use Somerset satin, which is a really nice paper. But for today, I'm just going to go and use this. So I'm going to just go and pop this in my water bath, and then we'll get started. Okay, so next up, I have here got some gloves to start with because it does get pretty messy. So I do wear gloves for this. I've got some. This is actually scrim. So this is a type of material really for wiping ink away. So I've got them in various states of cleanliness. You can get these from specialist printmaking suppliers, but you could just use rags as well if you have a pile of rags. That's also possible. My burnishing tools are, I've got a jam jar here with a ridged bottom, and that can be really useful for burnishing. And I've also got a wooden spoon, which can sometimes be better as well. So I've got both of those just in case. I've got some spatulas here for putting the ink on. Okay, I've also got lots of newspaper, scrap newspaper. This is really good for blotting your paper, for getting ink off your plate, and it's also just good for laying over your surfaces because it can get pretty messy. Okay, so next up we have inks, and I'm going to put my gloves on for this part. You do need oil-based ink for this. Water-based just probably isn't going to cut it, and ideally you want something that's described as either etching ink or dry point ink. This is Cranfield traditional etching ink, and I've got a soft black, and I've got some extender as well, which basically just softens it, makes it a lot easier to deal with. That is optional, but it does, when you're doing dry point, as you'll see, it involves putting the ink on and then wiping it off. So you do a lot of wiping, so you probably want to loosen your ink quite substantially. Now you can get etching ink in tubes, you can get it in pots like this, you can get it in sort of squeezy things like you do with sealant, that type of thing. I just happen to have got these pots here for the moment. I think I prefer tubes actually, because as you can see, these can get very sticky. There we go, got some extender there. Okay, now you can get away most of the time with basically just black when you're doing dry point etching. I often do add a little bit of Prussian blue if I want a blue black, or a little bit of warm red if I want a sort of brownie, more of a brownie colour. But you are fine to just use black, and I'm just loosening it up here with the extender. Okay, and that is ready to go. Okay, so I've got my plate here. I've actually added, since the last video, I've added a bit of carborundum powder here, which is like a sort of ground up metal powder, and that should make, hopefully, this area really dark. It is an intaglio technique. So if you ever hear carborundum, describing a print, a carborundum print, this is what it is. It just creates lots of tiny little dimples, I suppose, that the ink can sit in. So I am just getting the ink on my spatula and I'm putting it over the area that I want to print. This is all going to be plain, and ideally, eventually, I'd like to do some sheen collé, so some collage essentially, to make that into a sort of blue sky. But right now, just while I'm proofing it, I'm just going to leave it as it is, and I'm not going to put ink on because I'm only going to have to wipe it off again. Sometimes I like to put ink on and wipe off because it creates a rather nice, almost like a sort of photographic feel, but today I think, just because I don't want to spend hours and hours wiping ink away, and it does take a while, I'm just going to leave it as it is. So I'm just going to put ink on the areas that have lines on, where I've scratched the lines, or the carborundum powder. Okay, so this is where our newspaper comes in handy, and we're going to just first of all take off any excess ink, and there will be quite a lot of excess ink, to be honest. Before we begin taking off the rest of it with our scrim or rags. So basically I'm going to wipe away, and where the ink should stay where my scratches are, and where this in this area here as well. So that's the idea, and this might take me a little while. I'm just going to keep wiping away, and eventually, a bit like photograph, the image will start to appear. So when you feel you just can't wipe anymore, just move on your rag or your scrim to a clean bit, and you'll find that it will take off more ink. And you can also, of course, move to just a sort of new bit. That will also, you'll find that that starts to take off more ink as well. I'm just going to show you one thing. You can get a piece of tissue paper and use your fingers flat to just rub over your surface, and this should take off ink that is on the surface but not in your nice scratches or your dark areas, hopefully. Yeah, and you can see it is leaving these nice dark edges absolutely fine, but it's taking ink off the flat surface. So that's a little tip and trick for you. And in this particular case, although I don't always do this, I'm just going to pop a couple of drops of oil on this area here, because I really don't want this to have much ink on, well, ideally no ink. And a little bit of oil is just going to help me wipe it off. You can see that's coming up pretty well now. And I'm also going to do a little bit of a monoprint here in some ways. I'm going to add some marks here with a cotton bud. Sort of tractor marks on this field area down at the bottom here. Which I hope is going to sort of draw people into the picture a little bit. Now I'm going to get rid of all this inky stuff so that we can actually print. Okay, so I have my damp paper here. What I've actually done is I've taken it out of the bath and I have blotted it so it's just damp. It's not wet, it's damp. And that means all the fibres are going to basically expand, and then they're going to sink into the scratches, hopefully. That's the idea. So that it will pick up all the ink much better. Now, also, one thing I forgot to mention is greaseproof paper or baking parchment. Now, this is really great for the burnishing stage of the procedure. So, I'm going to get my jam jar. I'm going to start with my jam jar and see if it works okay. If not, I will go for the wooden spoon. But I'm literally just going to push down. And you're actually using quite a bit of muscle power here, and you're using the edge, the ridged edge of your jam jar or whatever you're using to push the paper right into your dry point scratches. Okay, so this is taking quite a while, but that's okay. It's taking quite a lot of muscle power. I'm holding the paper and the greaseproof paper down really steady while I go over with my jam jar. And every now and then I'm just taking a peek to check that it's working okay. And it does seem to be. So I just hold it steady, take a peek by just peeling the paper back. And all that the greaseproof does is it just allows your burnisher, whatever you're using, to move over the paper easily and also not rip your paper. So if you're finding that some of your lines aren't printing very well, just get the edge or the ridge of your jam jar, or in the case of a wooden spoon, kind of use the edge to really push your paper down into the scratch you've made. But also bear in mind that your first print is usually the lightest, because you just haven't got as much ink in your scratches and on your plate. And as you do more and more prints with the same plate, you'll find that it does start to print a little bit darker. So I am going to peel this one back. And there we go. So that is quite a basic print. You can see the carborundums come out really, really dark. My monoprint hasn't shown up that well, so I think next time what I'll do is I will leave a lot more ink on this bottom area, and then I've got more opportunity to manipulate it. And obviously I think what I'm going to do when I really get going is to have this whole area really beautiful blue colour, and I'm going to do that with collage, sheen collé. But that's a great start, a great proof, and shows that you can print dry point at home. And for cleaning up, I'm just using vegetable oil and some rags, and that should do the trick. Again, it does take a little while of wiping away, but you don't need to use turps. You can just use non-toxic vegetable oil and rags. I hope that's inspired you to have a go at printing your own plates at home in the art studio. If this has piqued your interest in printing at home, then do join my email list, the link's below. You'll get regular tips, how-tos, your free guide, how to be a rebel printmaker, and lots more straight to your inbox. My longer signature course, Hand Printing Happiness, does actually cover printing with plates, printing plates in the home studio in quite a bit of depth. There's several weeks of the course just devoted to that. So if you're interested in that course, it will be open for enrolment again next year, probably early-ish next year. So jump on the wait list, and again, the link is below. Right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.